Hello, everyone, and welcome to another blog chat. This week is episode 131. Peter and I are tuning in live from Paris Blockchain Week. Thank you for joining us. I hope it's going to be an interesting discussion. We're going to go through everything happening here in the past days. Peter,
Bonjour.
bonjour. So how has been Paris for you these last couple days?
So far, so good. So I think Paris is treated as well. Okay, let's put and wine aside for a moment. Also, I think the conference was quite interesting. Some interesting panels. I would say few chapters which are somehow evolved through the panels. But I would say that there are some mainstream topics which is to avoid these days.
One of the things we both noticed is institutions coming or here. There's a lot of institutions, good and bad, institutions being around. The chair of Paris Blockchain Week announced numbers at the beginning of the opening. Do you remember what was it?
So it's really interesting. So I when was the first event, but the first event there 145 of them.
245
this year. Yeah.
So that's a big number. That's a big change since the first edition of Paris Blockchain Week, and it's been a couple of years now. For me, it's the first time coming to this event. You as well.
Yeah, for me too.
Did you expect? Is it what you expected of it, or?
Yeah. So in the past, I visited several XRP or Ripple events. So what I liked, what I liked with those events was that they separated the communities. So they have Swell, which is more corporate related, and they have Apex, which is more event more for the developers. But here at Paris Blockchain Week, it's some kind of cocktail of everything. So different profiles, and I think I prefer this kind of event now. So
it's kind of like I remember we were about 2 years ago in the US in Austin. It was that kind of event, like consensus at the time. If you compare those two events, I mean, now Paris Blockchain Week versus consensus in Austin, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, I would say from the general perspective, they were quite similar because there was that was before the U.S. Elections. I think Kennedy was there, a presidential candidate was speaking there. So it was also some kind of political. There were also regulators. The Ripple case was still opened with an SIC, and here it was a lot of or regardless the topic of the panel. Every panelist somehow or at some point touched Mika. So it was all about the regulation. So I think there are a lot of parallels with that event 2 years ago, I think.
Do you think that talking about regulation so much is because we see so many institutions being really actively involved now in the crypto space?
Not only because of that, but this Mika, it's really high, means it really high entry barrier for practically every business. So I was really surprised listening to the talk today of Bitpanda CEO. I forgot his surname, but he was somehow bragging. We have 100 people working only in compliance and in legal. So but is this really something to brag about? Because then that means that we are living in highly regulated environments, and instead of doing business, instead of investing in tech development, in marketing, in sales, you're investing in compliance. Is that really the future? I don't know.
I guess if the future is institutionalized, I guess that's the path. I would say, and that's the route that a lot of decentralized exchanges need to go, because they are starting to compete with these big players from the financial industry, and they need to be regulated. And what most probably they're worrying about as well is that will they be stuck only with retail investors?
Mhm.
Will they be able to serve a more institutional set of clients as well, just as they did so far, or will that be taken over by more established institutions?
Look, it makes sense. So if you want to bring big players from the old financial industry to the game, then they need to play within the environment they know very well, and this is highly regulated environment. So there needs to be some kind of really clear regulatory framework. Without it, no real players will come in crypto business.
That's true. If we go forward from the discussion of Mika, obviously compliance is your topic, and Blocksquare's topic as well, because you need to be compliant with regulation, of course. Um, the interesting part with regulation when it comes to tokenized assets is that, as we know, there's two paths, right? You have the MiFID II path with securitization, so tokenization of existing securities like equities and bonds, that is not covered by MiCA actually. And then you have the crypto assets regulation in Europe that is covering everything else. Do you see, when you talk about tokenization in general of real world assets, do you see the traditional side being much more emphasized than the MiCA side of tokenized assets, or is it because MiCA covers stablecoins, right? But
Yeah.
everything else falls usually under MiFID.
Yeah. No, so it will be really interesting to see. There are clearly these two streams, and I think there is no simple answer which one will prevail, or let's say which one will go more mainstream with regards to the tokenization of real world assets. But I would say that we are definitely on the right path. So we decided that we want to avoid it at any cost. So we have our reasons behind it. But I'm sure that there will be some big players which will decide to go rather through these different streams. So it was really interesting discussion we had today with one lawyer from Switzerland, and he was favoring strongly MiFID too. But of course he has his own positive arguments for that. But it will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think the risk of, I mean, there's always risk going one direction or another. You, as a startup, you need to choose your path and see where your opportunity lies, right? I see a lot of real world asset tokenization providers and so forth really going towards the STO model since years and really going in that direction. At the same time, you hear yesterday the head of digital assets at Franklin Templeton, he was talking about his division natively launching assets on chain. And they've been doing this actively and deploying capital into it for the past 2 years. Now, the question is, do they need any other company to achieve this? Most probably they need some, but the question is, who do they need actually to work with?
And why do they need it? Why do they need it?
And why do they need it, right? But because the same tools are accessible to them as they are to any other startup, the only question is, are you hiring the right people? Do you have the mental capacity within your team to execute? But if you have that, then you're basically competing with the startups that are building in crypto in Web3, and you're making their need obsolete. You don't need those startups anymore because a real estate institutional player like CBRE is going to come directly to Franklin Templeton, directly work with them. And it means that this securitization or tokenized securities market is going to be dominated by institutions.
Yeah. There was one interesting thought. Was some of this one of the speakers said today that these big institutional players, mostly he meant like different hedge funds, banks, and so on. They are not anymore in testing phase. They are now in execution phase with regards to tokenization the assets. And that was interesting thought for me, because I still have in mind that a few years ago we needed to explain to the bank executives what's Bitcoin, and 5 years forward, we are now within the stream where we can feel and we can see, that banks are here, financial institutions are here. So, as you said before, that or you heard that this year there are much more suits.
Exactly. Yeah. There's somebody commented who was at Blockchain Paris Week last year, and he was comparing the 2 years, and he said, "Well, this year there's many more suits than there used to be." And then today, that was yesterday, and then today I was watching, how people were dressed, and they were dressed much more casually than yesterday. So my thinking yesterday, I said, well, maybe there's more suits, or maybe crypto bros are suiting up to appeal to the clients that they want to work with, which is institutions. And maybe that's true, because today was much more loosen up as a dress code all around. But still, a lot of people from the industry being here. For me, it was, as I mentioned in the post on LinkedIn, is that it's great to see people you work with live. Some you meet for the first time. Some you've met before. For instance, I met with Jens, the CEO of Lendhive, which is a client of ours. He had a great presentation, 10 minutes on the stage as well. And it's great to see when the people you work with are able to basically bring knowledge to the whole ecosystem, and those who are there to listen in. By the way, talking about LinkedIn posts, I checked earlier, and our score is tied.
Okay.
Still was, I think, or maybe you lead me by one like.
Okay.
Maybe it's going to change after after tonight.
Okay.
Maybe it's going to change. But we're both tied at the same amount of likes.
Okay. So yeah, there were 2 posts links on LinkedIn, so you should check.
I think Peter's post should be
because it's like snails champagne.
Yeah.
Been doing this the first night.
My was easier to understand than yeah.
It is. But going back from the wood to Paris Blockchain Week, what are the kind of the highlights for you?
2 topics, I would say. So one is definitely me. So I'm a bit surprised every day in crypto business, but I mean C-level executives, different crypto companies, so supportive for Mika, saying that Mika is the Mika means progress, that it will be a competitive advantage for European Union crypto companies. I don't completely agree with it. Okay, of course, we operate in Europe, so maybe we are kind of blessed. That was things Mika and positives, and everybody else should be helping us, Europe. And the other interesting talk was about the liquidity. So everybody was speaking the infrastructure really mature. Now this they times best institutional grade level of sophistication of the infrastructure, everything. But what less is liquidity. So this is the main gap when we're comparing the traditional financial markets, crypto markets, liquidity, how to bring liquidity to business, and how to make it more centralized, not centralized in the meaning control, but you now many different blockchain platforms and different solutions. The liquidity is spread over the ecosystem. How to bring it together, because it will be much more effective.
Yes.
But this was
that's
two topic, I guess.
that's the third topic that is being pushed really a lot. It always comes from this past 2 years is world assets. I think it ties into the question of liquidity because we're able to bring world assets on chain that traditional investors understand and move away from liquidity speculative assets to assets it's regular assets to invest in anyway.
Yeah.
And so we see a lot of talk about bringing more stocks, more the stock market, on chain, really bring liquidity to the stock market, compete against incumbent markets and so forth. But at the same time, it attracts, then it's not just for retail. But currently, these are products that are targeting retail, and only two players you see are stablecoins and ETFs in a way. Right? Everything else is experimental still. They're deploying capital, but it's experimental. There's not much. In terms of the going into real estate, what I saw is there's still talk about real estate utilization. It is taking different views. It's not just tokenizing the value of a real estate asset, but it's mortgage-backed loans, different financial products being right.
But underlying it's the core question here.
Exactly. The underlying assets, the core question. And I think institutions like before, institutions can work with institutions, might work with some startup that they acquired or maybe merged in their business model. But there are some niche markets that can be tapped into if you think differently. And here, I think the direction we went with tokenized economic rights through media regulation can brings the cost of tokenization down drastically. People need or work with tokenized property for probably under 5K. Depends on the size. And these are products that institutions will not be creating. Not yet. So we still have a couple of years time in front of us champion market that institutions are not touch right now right away. While tokenized securities, that's a market that will quickly be absorbed by institutions in my
I think that all talking about the tokenization of assets by players, it helps us because the industry will start will understand what tokenization brings. I was reading a few months ago about Robinhood. They tokenized the securities listed in Nasdaq, and it will start rolling and big players they will get their own gardens, I would say. Most of course the logic behind every business is to target the industry or vertical to understand. Of course, it will be an opportunity for us because we know we have this niche we are targeting for several years. It's not something new.
Yeah.
We understand it, and I am, as I said, I'm also positive about that this is an opportunity we have for more years of time for maybe some institutions which will start spreading over the place, but will become this player within time. We are on a side.
I think one of the takeaways I had talking with other of real estate organization or similar products is still in the non-institutional of real estate organization, there is the bet on retail. We tokenize real estate and we offer it widely or marketplace for access to the purchase its coins, we offer it the max. That tactic or that direction or block or step with is not manifesting in a way that is that people expect. We expected that if people are buying NFTs, they will be buying into tokenized real estate. If they're buying into meme coins, they will be buying into tokenized real estate. But it's not really happening. There's a couple of reasons, perhaps why, because there's this KYC tab, there's a couple of things that are putting additional barriers. But it's happening, and it's not happening, not in our ecosystem, not in the right volumes. It's not happening elsewhere as well. It's a common problem that many players in the real estate tokenization sphere have. What I notice is we have great relationships and we work amazingly with suppliers. All right, let me check if sound works. Sound 1, 2, 3. Does it work? I think it works again. All right. So sorry, I hope we didn't get cut off too early. Anyways, I was saying that the liquidity from retail is not coming so much in real estate, in tokenized real estate.
Expected, yeah.
And we expected maybe it's going to be like this. We expected that maybe it's going to shift from meme coins and these casinos and NFT as well into tokenized real estate is not happening as much. And I think this is a issue that can be only solved in changing the direction of where capital should be formed for this kind of asset class. And it's going to be interesting to see what the reaction is going to be over the next couple of months, going and working towards more professional investors, maybe investors that have a different direction than just the retail investor.
There was as I see it, there was a major shift in the strategy of the biggest player in the crypto industry. So if I go back to, I don't know, 5-6 years, I remember Bitstamp was the only exchange, targeting corporations, corporate clients. They were applying for all the possible licenses in Europe, in the United States. So they neglected somehow retail. I think that was not the best tactic.
Mm-hmm.
But all other exchanges, all other players, they were targeting retail only.
Mm-hmm.
If you are listening to the same representatives today, 5, 6, 8 years later, it's all about the game is about the institutional partners. So I think it's a reversed strategy. So we are going from bottom up strategy to top down.
Yeah.
So now I think everybody will be seeking the liquidity within the institutional ecosystem, not within the retail. And if institutions will come, then also retail will come.
Most definitely. I think it's when you're creating a new market, which we are creating a new market with tokenized real estate is a new market. You need to follow a certain step-by-step procedure. First, you need to secure the supply. The supply has to be good. Then you need to go to the demand side, and you go to the demand side, and based on what you can serve. We started with retail. The problem with retail is if you want to acquire a lot of retail clients, you're competing with the centralized exchanges that are marketing their product to retail customers. But their pockets are much deeper than the pockets of projects like like ours and our competitors combined. If the whole real estate tokenization market joins forces, it's most probably it's just it's peanuts compared to centralized exchanges, and we're kind of all trying to compete to get the same customers or similar customers, and this is hard, of course. So I think there needs to be a shift of being able to pull funds for the purpose of investing them into tokenized real estate, assembling portfolios of tokenized real estate for these investors. And I think that's the direction where the whole real estate tokenization industry should be going towards, because that can then create a market. On the other end, yields in DeFi Web3 are being brought to normal rates again. So real world assets are interesting, not just because they are real world assets, but as well because of the fundamentals that they bring with the yields that are there, that are sustainable. And I think that's a quality that is missing in crypto in general. So I think things are aligning in the right way. The question is, are we able to shape it properly with MiCA regulation in mind? Because that's the hardest part. As you said, that creates additional burden on entry barrier. It's an entry barrier for many companies.
Yes. But look, whatever we discussed today, we come to three main topics: liquidity, real world assets, and regulation.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think these three topics will be most relevant. Not only relevant at present, but it will be in the nearest future for sure.
Peter, thanks for sharing your thoughts with whoever's listening to us tonight. Looking forward to go for dinner.
Let's call it dinner.
Yeah. So snails we've done again.
3 times in 2 days. Yeah.
3 times in 2 days. We're gonna skip snails. We did frog legs yesterday. Very good.
Yeah. Chicken special chicken. Whatever it was.
This
is right.
So, by the way, Peter's wife, not wife to be, but
Fiance.
She booked a restaurant, an amazing restaurant, that's owned by
Arnaud.
Arnaud is his surname, the guy who bought all the luxury.
Yeah, the richest European guy.
Exactly, and now he's buying all the good restaurants in Paris, apparently. And then we went into one of his restaurants, very small. David Beckham eats snails there as well, apparently. And I learned today that it's very, very hard to get a reservation. So I don't know what she did.
What?
Yeah, I was speaking with somebody from Paris. He said, "Whoa, that's almost impossible to get a reservation."
Like, yes.
So
let's find something good today.
Yes, definitely. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope it was okay. I hope the sound worked and it didn't interrupt what we discussed today. If it did, we're going to put another version with subtitles, I don't know, and read from our lips. Anyways, a big thank you to everyone watching us. Hi from Paris Blockchain Week. And see you on the next blog